Hello everyone! In this video, I am Ratri and my friend Tika will present the audiolingual method, direct method, and grammar translation method. So let's get started!
The first topic is audiolingual method. The audiolingual method is a language teaching approach that emphasizes repetitive practice of spoken language structures. The audiolingual method has been criticized for its lack of emphasis on real-world communication and can be seen as teacher-centered. However, it can be a useful tool for developing basic pronunciation and sentence structures. The audiolingual method has two purposes in language learning. The first one is developing fluency and accuracy in spoken language. This is the primary focus. Through repetition and drills, students develop automatic responses to spoken prompts and practice using grammatical structures correctly. And the second one is improving pronunciation and listening comprehension. By constantly hearing and mimicking native speakers, students train their ears to understand spoken language and refine their own pronunciation. The principles of audiolingual method. The first is repetition and drills. This method heavily relies on repetition and drilling. Students practice patterns of dialogues, phrases, and sentences until they can produce them correctly without hesitation. The second is mimicry and memorization. Students are encouraged to mimic the teacher and memorize dialogues. Accurate pronunciation and intonation are emphasized. The third is inductive teaching of grammar. Grammar rules are not explicitly taught. Instead, students are expected to infer the rules from the examples and patterns provided during drills and exercises. The fourth is use of target language only. Instruction is conducted entirely in the target language. The use of the student native language is minimized or avoided altogether. The fifth is immediate correction. Errors are corrected immediately to prevent the formation of bad habits. Correct models are provided by the teacher or through recorded native speakers. The sixth is focus on listening and speaking. The primary skills developed are listening and speaking, with reading and writing considered secondary and introduced later. The seventh is positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement is used to encourage correct responses and help establish good language habits. And the last is grammar structure first, vocabulary later. The method typically starts by teaching grammar structures before introducing vocabulary. This approach helps students understand the context and usage of new words.
The advantages of audiolingual method. First, the method places significant emphasis on listening and speaking skills, which are essential for effective communication. Second, visual aids like flashcards and pictures are effective in teaching vocabulary and grammar. Third, the students are guided through the learning process, ensuring that they follow a structured approach. Fourth, the use of drills and repetition helps students internalize language patterns and structures through extensive practice. Fifth, the method places a strong emphasis on correct pronunciation and intonation, helping students sound more native-like. The disadvantages of audiolingual method. First, since grammar rules are taught inductively, students may struggle to understand and apply grammatical concepts independently. Second, the method's focus on repetition and drills can stifle creativity and spontaneous language use. limiting students' ability to use language flexibly in real-life situations. Third, the repetitive nature of drills can become monotonous and boring, leading to decreased motivation and engagement among students. Fourth, the method is highly teacher-centered, which can limit students' autonomy and the development of self-directed learning skills. The direct method is a language teaching approach that emphasizes direct communication in the target language without translation or explanation in the student's native language. The primary purposes of the direct method are to establish a direct link between the student's experience and expression, focusing on the development of oral skills and fluency in the target language. The principles of direct method. First, target language only. The classroom environment revolves around the target language. Teachers strive to minimize or eliminate use of the student's native language. Second, focus on oral skills. There is a strong emphasis on speaking and listening. Students are encouraged to speak the language from the beginning and to develop correct pronunciation and intonation. Third, inductive grammar teaching. Grammar is taught inductively. Instead of explicit grammar rules, students infer rules from the context of the language used. Fourth, visual aids and demonstrations. Objects, pictures, and actions are used to make meaning clear, facilitating understanding without translation. Fifth, vocabulary through context. Vocabulary is introduced and practiced within its sentences. Contextual use is emphasized over isolate word list. Sixth, emphasis on everyday speech. The vocabulary and sentences used are relevant to daily life and everyday communication. Seventh, emphasis on self-correction. Teachers guide students towards self-correction rather than directly pointing out mistakes. This fosters a more independent learning environment.
The advantages of direct method. The first is natural language acquisition. The method mimics the way children learn their first language and foster a more natural acquisition process. This immersive approach helps students internalize their language more organically. The second is enhanced speaking and listening skills. By focusing on everyday conversation and interaction, the direct method significantly improves students' speaking and listening abilities, and then making them more fluent and confident in real-life communication. The third is improved pronunciation. Since translation is discouraged, students are encouraged to focus on pronunciation and the proper use of target language sounds. This can result in higher speaking accuracy. The fourth is active learning environment. The method encourages active participation and interaction and make the learning process more engaging and dynamic. This active involvement helps reinforce language skills and keeps students motivated. The fifth is increased vocabulary through context. Vocabulary is learned in context through direct association with objects, actions, and ideas rather than translation. This helps students remember words and phrases more effectively. And the last is reduction of translation dependency. By avoiding translation, students are encouraged to think directly in the target language, which can lead to faster and more efficient language acquisition. Next is disadvantages of direct method. The first is limited explanation of grammar. The method focuses on language use rather than explicit grammar instruction, which can leave students with a weak understanding of grammatical rules and structures. The second is difficulty for beginners. Beginners may find it challenging to understand and follow lessons conducted entirely in the target language, leading to frustration and potential discouragement. The third is high demand on students. The method demands a high level of participation and concentration from students, which can be taxing and may not suit all learning styles. The fourth is impractical for large classes. Constant interaction and correction became difficult with many students and reducing individual attention. And the last is neglect of reading and writing. The emphasis of speaking might lead to underdeveloped reading and writing skills and crucial for well-rounded language proficiency. So this is the last topic on this video. Grammar translation method is a traditional language teaching method that emphasizes the explicit teaching of grammatical rules, the memorization of vocabulary, and the translation of sentences and text between the target language and the student's native language. The primary purposes of grammar translation method are: the first is to develop students' ability to read and understand literature in the target language. The second, to foster students' analytical skills by studying the grammatical structure of the language. And the last is to build a substantial vocabulary base that can be used for reading and intellectual development. The principal characteristics of the grammar translation method are as follows. First, the goal of foreign language study is to learn a language in order to read its literature, or in order to benefit from the mental discipline and intellectual development that result from foreign language study. Grammar translation is a way of studying a language that approaches the language first through detailed analysis of its grammar rules, followed by application of this knowledge to the task or translating sentences and text into and out of the target language. The second, reading and writing are the major focus. Little or no systematic attention is paid to speaking or listening. The third, vocabulary selection is based solely on the reading text used, and words are taught through bilingual word lists, dictionary study, and memorization. In a typical grammar translational text, the grammar rules are presented and illustrated. A list of vocabulary items is presented with their translation equivalents, and translation exercises are prescribed. Fourth, the sentences is the basic unit of teaching and language practice. Much of the lesson is devoted to translating sentences into and out of the target language, and it is focused on the sentences that is a distinctive feature of the method. The fifth, accuracy is emphasized. It means that students are expected to attain high standard in translation. The sixth, grammar is taught deductively. It means by presentation and study of grammar rules, which are then practiced through translation exercises. In most grammar translation texts, a syllabus was followed for the sequencing of grammar points throughout a text, and there was an attempt to teach grammar in an organized and systematic way. And the last, the student's native language is the medium of instruction. It is used to explain new items and to enable comparisons to be made between the foreign language and the student's native language.
The advantages of grammar translation method. First, the emphasis on grammar rules can provide a solid foundation for understanding the structure of the target language. This can be helpful for students who appreciate a logical and analytical approach to language acquisition. Second, students may expand their vocabulary as they often consult dictionaries to learn the meanings of new words. Third, the focus on translation drills and grammar analysis can improve reading comprehension and writing skills in the target language. Students practice analyzing sentence structure and using vocabulary in written exercises. Fourth, grammar translation method offers a highly structured approach to language learning with clear rules and systematic progression. The disadvantages of grammar translation method. First, grammar translation method places little emphasis on speaking and listening skills, which are crucial for real-world communication. Students may develop strong reading and writing abilities but often struggle with oral communication. Second, the repetitive nature of translation and grammar exercises can be monotonous and uninspiring for students. This lack of engagement can lead to reduced motivation and interest in learning the language. Third, grammar translation method is highly teacher-centered, with the instructor playing a dominant role in the classroom. This limits opportunities for students' interaction, collaboration, and active participation. Fourth, vocabulary and grammar are often taught in isolation, without meaningful context. This can make it difficult for students to understand how language elements are used in real-life communication. Thank you for your attention.